So look, I am a big Potter fan. Those books are, excuse
Sure.
the phrasing, magical. I am not a fan of J.K. Rowling personally, especially since she lost her friggin' mind. All the ills in the world wants to target transgender people who, in and of themselves, are not a problem in the world. The fact of the matter is, those books were very well adapted into movies that are still very, very popular with the public,
Yeah.
that still screen every Christmas. Rowling is very problematic for a lot of reasons we've already discussed. I could not be less enthusiastic. This looks very flat. It looks cheap. The colors all kind of look washed out. It doesn't look cinematic in any way.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Entertainment Exposed. With your hosts here, Scott Fullerton and David Reddish, right here on the Left of Straight Podcast Network. David, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing very well, thank you, Scott. How are things in Ohio?
Things are wonderful. We had a lovely thunderstorm last night, which I kind of love. Nice little rain and lightning display. So that was fun. Talk about yourself. Did you survive WonderCon? How was that?
I did. WonderCon was lovely. I actually met some great people this time. I met Irene Bedard, who is the voice of Pocahontas in the Disney film.
Nice.
Viewers will also know her from shows like The Stand. She is a terrific actress. We had a long conversation just about her career. She could not have been nicer. We talked about
Well,
Indigenous represent in the media. We talked about the possibility of Disney remaking Pocahontas in live action and why she didn't think that would ever happen, and why it's sort of a double-edged sword in the sense that Pocahontas offered a lot of representation for Native Americans that they were not having. Remember, this is a movie that
right.
came out in the early 90s. The first indigenous Disney princess. That's kind of a big deal. And the animators and the story people went to such great lengths to represent the culture well. Unfortunately, they took a lot of liberties with history, which a lot of people still have a
Sure.
problem with. Irene, of course, is very proud of the film and her role in it. She told me a really interesting story about, she was actually at another convention in the Bay Area where it was like a reunion of Disney princesses, and this was just about a month ago, if I recall correctly. So
Okay.
they were all asked. She didn't mention who else was there, but I'm guessing it was probably Jodie Benson, who voices Ariel in The Little Mermaid, and Paige. Oh, I can't think of her last name. All of a sudden, Paige from Beauty and the Beast, who voices Belle. My brain is dead. I need the coffee
Yeah.
too, Scott. My gosh. All these princesses on stage, they said, "What's your favorite part of the movie?" And she had for years said, "Oh, it's where Pocahontas stops a war. Like she's able to bring two people together and sort of smooth over their fears of one another and their cultural differences." And she thought that was very, very powerful for a young woman to be able to do that. She'd never seen that in a movie before. Well, this also happens in conjunction with the war in Iran. So she said she wasn't sure she wanted to tell the story, but she did it anyway. And I asked her, well, how did the crowd react? And she said, rapturous, thunderous applause. She said she was so
Nice.
proud. Like I say, wonderful woman. I also met Tony Baxter, who's a famous Disney Imagineer who designed Splash Mountain and I believe Journey into Imagination, all the big Walt Disney World rides from the 70s onward. Another guy, could not have been nicer, had no pretensions about him, no airs. We talked about how now it sucks to go to a Disney park because you have to do everything on an app, something I've ranted about on this show before, so we're not going to do that again right now. But that was really cool. I also met a lot of viewers of my show, of the David Reddish Show on YouTube and on Occupied Democrats, which is always awesome. I hung out with our friend Sam Irvin. He and I had a lovely dinner. I hung out a bit with Nicole Maines, the actress from The Flash, who's turned comic book writer, very, very talented young lady. It was delightful. It was delightful to just have a chat. I think maybe I'm getting a little old for it because instead of going out, it's sort of tradition at WonderCon that everybody goes out to the hotel bar every night of the show. I
Right.
was ready for bed on Friday. So I went to bed, is what I did. And then I went out early on Saturday, ended up running into some friends of mine, chit-chatted for a bit, and after one glass of wine, went to bed because I'm elderly. But that's neither here nor
I
there. It
hear
was a
you.
lovely time. It was a lovely time. Not
Good.
too busy, not too packed. Yeah.
Well, love to hear that. Nicole Maines is such a sweetheart. I've had her
Yes.
on the show with Truth Man and my good buddy Adam, who came on, Adam Huss, who helped co-create that and everything. So, yeah, amazing, amazing comic book, and she is just the nicest person in the world. So glad you got to spend some time with her.
Yeah.
We are liars, as it turned out. We promised to have RDO Daily on the show today to talk about Bad Boy, and he had a last minute cancellation for us. For all you that were tuning in today for Artie, we do apologize. We will get him back. I don't know if we're going to have to pre-tape or we'll just get him next week. But that Bad Boy finale last Saturday was a lot of fun. So we will talk to him about all that. So instead, we're just going to give you our regular entertainment news, and we should probably start with where we're finishing off last week. Project Hail Mary kept its second week at the box
Yeah.
office. We talked about it needing 500 million to be profitable. It cost 248 million, but it hit the 300 million mark over the weekend. So it's doing very, very good. Like we said last time, it's one of the highest rated MGM shows ever for Amazon MGM, and it's doing good. I mean, this week it's going against Super Mario Kart, so it's in a lot of trouble for the Easter weekend, but pretty impressive. It's got that 300 million in 2 weeks.
That is pretty impressive, especially given how most viewers don't even want to go to a cinema anymore. We should have sometime a deep dive conversation about the reasons why, because I think some of it has to do with Hollywood, some of it has to do with the audience, and a lot of it has to do with actually going to the cinema itself. But that's maybe another conversation for another time. I still have not seen Project Hail Mary. I'm looking forward to it though, because Drew Goddard, the writer director who also directed The Martian, very, very talented, very, very intelligent guy. It's more cerebral science fiction than it is, say, Star Wars or Star Trek. It probably has more in common with Interstellar or The Martian. But I'm particularly interested because Drew Goddard is the one who has been tapped to write and direct a new Matrix film for Warner Brothers, The Matrix 5, which will be the first where Lana Wachowski is not writing or directing. So I have many thoughts on that as a big, big fan of Cyberpunk and of The Matrix, why that may not be the best idea. It may just be that Warner's is trying to milk more out of a cow that has since given up making the milkshakes for people. But we'll see. We'll see. In terms of upcoming films and the queerness of it all, Masters of the Universe dropped its new trailer earlier this week. And
If those
as
are
someone,
his abs, I'm pretty damn
oh, yes.
impressed. I gotta tell
Nicholas
you.
Gazeltine, very, very easy on the eyes. However, what is not easy on the eyes is the overall visual aesthetic of the movie that looks like, I don't know, it looks like a cartoon to me. It's a little too
Close.
bright, a little too pixelated, a little too, I don't know, overproduced, over rendered. I think they may have been better off to actually go film in some exotic location, and that probably would have been cheaper in the long run, not to mention better looking. But we'll see. We're reserving, reserve judgment. These trailers come out, and it's kind of stupid that the studios do this. The effects are never finished. They're never finished. And so what you're
Right.
actually seeing is a lower quality version of what will actually be on the big screen. So it's important to sort of withhold judgment. It's not going to help them in terms of hyping the movie that it looks very cheap like this. But again, here we are. Like you're saying, Nicholas Gazeltine looks like he has a fun take on the character. He's obviously in fantastic shape. It's really exciting for me as someone who grew up on He-Man and had all those action figures and owns all those animated shows, the animated episodes on DVD. It was really fun for me to see some of them realized, like Ram Man and Trapjaw. To see them realized in live action is really cool, and it's sort of like a dream come true because it's like I've always wanted to, I wanted to see this movie for the past 40 years since I was a little kid. But we'll see what the actual quality is. My sort of reaction to it this time is that it looks very Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a nasty habit that should be stopped in Hollywood, that everybody wants the
Okay.
sitcom, quippy, cartoony jokes with, sort of hyper plastic, oversaturated colors, and it's an ensemble comedy. That was great in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, but it has had diminishing returns both in the Marvel Universe and beyond. Which brings me to the other big trailer that dropped this week, which is Supergirl, which happens to be coming from James Gunn, the writer-director of Guardians of the Galaxy. He's producing it as part of the new DC universe, and it looks very, very much like Guardians of the Galaxy, but with Supergirl sort of dropped into the mix. Can we not try something different? I mean, I know I'm whining right now, but can we not try something different?
Right.
It's not necessarily the best aesthetic for every science fiction or fantasy film show that's going to be going to the big screen. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
Same thing. You kind of hope that they glitzy up the trailers more than the movie is, but so you really have to wait till you see it. But yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same vibe from you, where it's a little too overproduced for my take, especially on the He-Man. Um, I do. I mean, I am looking forward to the movie overall. I think they have a lot of promise they can do with it if it ends up being done well. But yeah, the Supergirl trailer I have not seen yet. I saw it was dropped. I have not seen that yet, so I can't really comment upon that yet. But yeah, very, very, very interesting. We'll see what happens. I mean, Gunn has been given a universe, right? The DC universe has been put in his hands to be the new steward of. And I think he's capable of it. I hope he doesn't rely on these kind of old tropes like you're talking about and going backwards instead of forward. I mean, he has an entire studio at his fingertips to kind of reinvent with. So yeah, I agree 100%. I did want to say a funny thing though, going back to originally to Hail Mary. It turns out one of the stars of the shows is actually this sweater that he's wearing. I guess there's some kind of a cardigan zip-up sweater that that Ryan Gosling is wearing. It's a $90 pattern. People found it online and it sold out overnight. People are wanting this sweater so bad, and I think there's such weird things that happen in movies. You don't know what it's going to be, but yeah, this $90, they don't have enough to keep in stock of this sweater, I guess. So I've not seen it yet, but I guess it is one of the co-stars of the movie besides Ryan and The Rock. So who knows?
Okay, well,
kind of interesting.
I also, on the subject of the queerness of it all, I think we should maybe wade into the dangerous waters of talking about the trailer for the HBO Harry Potter series that also just dropped. So, look, I am a big Potter fan. Those books are, excuse the phrasing, magical. I am not a fan of J.K. Rowling personally, especially since she lost her friggin' mind and now, of all the ills in the world, wants to target transgender people who, in and of themselves, are not a problem in the world. It baffles me. And this is something that came up a lot at WonderCon. There was a lot of conversation about, are you going to watch the show? What do you think of the show? A lot of people just want nothing to do with it because they find her so repulsive at this point. And because the fact of the matter is, those books were very well adapted into movies that are still very, very popular with the public, that still screen every Christmas. They've become a tradition among the different generations that have come up reading those books. Are there things that maybe about the books that maybe have not aged well? Sure, we could have a longer deep dive conversation on that another time. And obviously, Rowling is very problematic for a lot of reasons we've already discussed. In looking at the show, the footage from it, I could not be less enthusiastic. I love those movies, I love those books, but this looks very flat. It looks cheap. The colors all kind of look washed out. It doesn't look cinematic in any way. And it's just, what is from the books, what is supposed to be so literal from the books, was already very well translated into the movies. So it looks redundant. In fact, it even looks like they're filming in some of the same locations, which begs the question, why are we doing this? And the obvious answer, I don't think Harry Potter fans wanted a reboot of the film series. I don't think I know J.K. Rowling didn't want it. My friend Eric Schwartzel has reported on this at length in the Wall Street Journal. She was not enthusiastic about this show. Warner Brothers was not particularly enthusiastic about working with her again, which is why they chose to do a reboot series rather than try and do something else in the wizarding world. Ironically, they have the rights only to the books. So if they want to do something with Harry Potter and they don't want J.K. Rowling involved, all they can do is reboot the books. So, rather than expand on the universe. So, lack of hype for me. people, some of the cast is coming under fire for why would you do this when J.K. Rowling is saying these terrible things. Well, she's not really involved with the show. She gets her retainer, and that's sort of it. And
Right.
maybe that's enough reason to not watch it. Personally, even putting aside J.K. Rowling's horrible attacks on queer people, I think there's even less reason to watch it because it just looks redundant and uninteresting. So
Yeah,
there's that.
it's really too bad because I've kind of heard the same thing. I mean, you saw the Cursed Child on stage, and they did a
Yes.
good job with that. I mean, they know how to bring the world in other directions, but as you said, they're kind of stuck in the parameters of the books there. And if you're going to go back to the material that's already been out there, you need to really have some original takes on it, make it look really good, find the interesting parts that need to be explored some more, and the backstory of Myrtle, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to make it interesting, and I just don't think they've really taken the time to do that here.
No. And people talk about the Fantastic Beasts series, how that was supposed to be a 5-movie series that was a prequel to the Harry Potter series and dealt with, some with young Dumbledore, certain other characters
Right.
that were sort of secondary in the Potter series. Those started out well enough, but they could never pin down what the series was actually supposed to be about, and J.K. Rowling kind of trying to writing it by herself, which was the second movie was incomprehensible. I couldn't tell you what was going on. It was just like so many characters. And it was very obvious that she was used to writing a book and not doing something that was economical when it came to plotting to streamline it all for a film. And
Right.
she also ran into and this was before the transgender issues started to crop up. She ran into a lot of criticism because she was writing, it was supposed to be initially Fantastic Beasts was supposed to tell the story of wizarding in America and in the New World. And she was attacked for certain kind of inaccuracies, her treatment of Native Americans, which is always going to be a very, very thorny bush to sort of navigate when you're dealing with something like the magic of the wizarding world. Well, why didn't the Native Americans did the wizards commit genocide against the Native Americans? Were they allied? Why didn't the wizarding world protect them? It opens up a lot of questioning. At the same time, I felt like that was maybe more fertile ground than trying to go back
Right.
and be redundant, where it's like, oh, this is now the young Dumbledore story, which was not something we really needed or were that interested in.
Yeah, I gave a little bit of the benefit of the doubt for that just because it's very much fantasy. This all came from her head and on her little train ride, supposedly, right? So she
Yeah.
doesn't have that American experience at all.
No.
So, and she doesn't seem like the type that researches much, obviously, from her positions that are put in very poor taste. So I just don't think she really researched that. And so I'm giving her a pass just because I don't think she did a good job in what she needed to do for it. So I kind of understood the badness of the series, but you're right. I mean, it could have been done a lot better. I just think she's a little lazy. I don't think she researches enough, and I just think she has no experience for the American experience whatsoever. So
I mean, I won't go so far as to call her lazy, but I think you hit on the big problem, which is even with the strengths of the Fantastic Beast films or the sort of backstory that she published to all of it, it very much seemed like an English woman trying to write Americana. And that, especially, colonial Americana, that is very, very problematic because it's so
yes,
American. I don't want to sort of get off into a rant about this, but if you look at the scenes that have to do with like the president of the American wizarding world, the president functions a lot more like a prime minister in those films than an American president. The legislature is much more like a parliament rather than a bicameral legislature. I mean, these are nuances that even, frankly, many Americans sort of overlook. So for
right,
Rowling to overlook them, it's not that surprising. I think she could have benefited from maybe working with an American author as well. She has many American friends. I would have loved to have seen Stephen King and Rowling take on, the sort of Americana,
sure,
the New England of it all. I think
right.
that would have been great, but I wouldn't count on Stephen King to work with her now because she's just,
I agree
she has
on that.
problems.
Speaking of the queer of it all, I hope they don't get caught up in the queer baiting hell because I don't believe these two at all. But I was excited to read that two of my personal favorites, Dylan O'Brien and Hudson Williams, are going to be starring in a new dark comic thriller. I love Dylan, of course, from Teen Wolf and the Maze. Hudson Williams is just still white hot from Heated Rivalry, but they're going to get in this movie. It's about a struggling young rideshare driver who is, I think, Hudson Williams' character, and he falls under the influence of this self-styled entrepreneur played by O'Brien. He kind of offers him a future in this handheld massager business. I have no
Oh
idea what
my.
that's all about. But what appears to be a dream opportunity quickly unveils and pulls them into a downward spiral. But I mean, accuse them of queer baiting if you want. They've been very good to the queer community. And I'm looking forward to a Dylan O'Brien and a Hudson Williams project.
I mean, there's not much I can quarrel with there. I mean, why wouldn't you want to see the two of them together at this point? I'll watch. I mean, my interest is piqued. It's also interesting that you sort of describe it that way in the context of queerness, because I just watched a film which is new to Netflix called Inside the Manoverse, which is hosted by the British journalist Louis Theroux. I encourage you, Scott, and all of our listeners to check this out. It's a journey into the manosphere, you know, people like Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson and all these male influencers that talk about masculinity. And there's a lot of talk about how they've allied themselves to Donald Trump and how that sort of tipped
Right.
the election in his favor in 2024. It's a very interesting film to look at because most of the guys he interviews, it comes out, you know, they want to portray themselves as being hyper masculine, super handsome, super ripped. You know, I have a wife and I have an open marriage with her where I'm allowed to sleep with other people, but not her. And I'm a millionaire and I drive a fast car and wear nice sunglasses. What comes out about most of their wealth, first of all, is that they're not independently wealthy. They make their money by selling supplements and like financial courses online so you can become a millionaire like me. And it's
Right.
like, this is a grift. Like they're just grifting these people. I don't know how many of them sleep around because I didn't find any of them particularly attractive or seductive. And when the subject came up in front of their wives or girlfriends, the wives and girlfriends really bristled at it. And the other commonality, and this opens up a whole big line of conversation, all of them came from broken homes and had little to no contact with their fathers. They were raised entirely by their mothers, which sort of betrays that all of this is very performative, these different aspects of masculinity that they're trying to put forward. They're trying to say, oh,
Right.
I'm a man. It's like they're not actually giving you what it means to be a good man because unfortunately they have not seen that. What they're giving you is their idea of what a good man should be or what they think. Like it's like this cartoon version of masculinity in a lot of ways. And the really sad part is they're ripping people off while they do it. They're taking their money and they're being toxic with the way they attack women, the way they attack queer people, and the way they take advantage of people. It's really, really sad. The sort of acolytes that get interviewed in this film, I found myself feeling really, really bad for them because their self-loathing is palpable. And the fact of the
Yeah.
matter is they can do a lot better than these people who are also not being honest about their wealth. It's like, oh, I'm worth millions, but I don't own this house. Oh, that's interesting. That million, and you can't afford the house. Okay, interesting. Moving on.
I definitely
Everybody
want to
check it out.
watch that. That's very, I
Yeah,
mean, Rogan was the same way. He got, I think,
yeah.
one before he broke big, it was something like some kind of memory pills or tonic or something that he was
Yes.
pushing back in the day. So, yeah.
A lot of these podcasters, and I'm proud to say we're not doing this on our show, and I'm not doing it on my show either. We don't sell the supplements, which is just kind of dubious. The thing that's most baffling to me, and this is going to make me sound old, everybody, so please forgive me now. I don't know why anybody would aspire to be an Instagram influencer. I don't get it. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's not like you're good at something. Maybe you're good at working out and you're just a glorified fitness trainer. Maybe you won the DNA jackpot. Good for you. Maybe you had some very good plastic surgery. Okay, fine. But what the hell are you people doing? Like, what is your pet call? Like, what do you do? Like, as
Right.
somebody who works very hard in his career and you know tries to expand his skill level and who knows many many people of extraordinary talent that are doing the same, it's really kind of baffling to me to see that people would aspire to be something less than that. It's like they just want the fame, but nothing, no responsibility of it, and no sense of achievement from it other than, hey, look at me, I'm famous. And I don't understand why anyone would follow that or want to aspire to be like that. I do not understand this.
I agree 100%. I mean, these guys are getting by 99.9%, as you say, off their DNA and their looks, but
Yeah.
all they're doing is traveling to places and making this stupid content. I don't see them enjoying their life. There's a few of them that do, but I
Yeah.
don't see any really kind of improving themselves, improving their life by anything except for making a boatload of money, I guess, while they can. Hopefully, they'll enjoy it later on and find some kind of a real life later on. But it's really amazing how shallow their careers are making this money hand over fist, and it's very,
Yes.
very unusual to me. So I agree 100% on that.
Definitely check it out. We could have, I think, a queer eye to toxic masculinity. I think that would be an interesting show for us to talk about. It's a little off the entertainment mark, but not that far.
Not too far at all.
Uh,
I did want to bring up and go into the
yeah.
television queer of it right now. I was kind of excited to see that the morning show, Apple TV,
Yes.
is adding some great talent next season, including Sean Hayes in a large
Yeah.
point. And Sean hasn't done a lot of drama, right? Done a lot of comedy,
No.
done a little bit of drama, but he's going to be joining as a recurring character for season 5, playing Wyatt, the character Bros. I don't know if you're familiar with the show, played by
Yeah.
Boyd Holbrook. He's going to be playing his older brother and manager. I mean, they're having a huge influx of talent this season. Jeff Daniels, who I love, is
Oh,
joining.
great.
Renee Rapp, Jesse Williams. I mean, it's going to be a great season for them. So I'm really looking forward to it. So I think Sean could be a lot to it. And I haven't caught every season all the way through, but I catch little snips and 2 or 3 episodes there when I can of the morning show.
Yeah.
I love Reese Witherspoon. I follow her on LinkedIn, and she's just such a smart person, business wise and talent wise, of course. So I'm looking forward to see what Sean brings to the morning show. It's a great cast already, but these
Yes.
4 additions are going to be amazing.
It absolutely is. I only watched the first season, and the thing that impressed me the most, Reese, I thought was good. She was fine. Carell is very, very good. Steve Carell is the male lead, who's
Yes.
modeled pretty obviously on Matt Lauer. But the one that surprised me the most was Jennifer Aniston, who has never been better in anything. She really gives an astonishing performance in this character, very nuanced. And very complicated. So this is something worth checking out. Also, that sounds wonderful, and it's nice that Apple TV is doing this because they have unlimited money and they don't worry about losing it. They
Right.
throw extraordinary money at their projects. So good for them.
Yeah, they're one of the few that aren't getting on we talked about it for a few weeks,
Yeah.
the verticals and the shorts. They're saying,
Yes.
hell with that. They don't want to go that way. A lot of companies are doing that. A lot of all the streamings are raising their prices right now to do ad inspired, and they don't want to go ad inspired on Apple TV, which I love. Because I mean, look at the Netflix of it all, adding their tier, and Amazon automatically giving you their commercial tier now. So good on Apple for not doing that at this point, at least, because they are making money hand over fist. But
Here,
yeah,
here.
I think they've been doing really good with their programming. So yeah, I agree.
Very cool. I want to pivot, if we can, real quick to theater, because as you may recall, last Wednesday I attended the opening night performance of Spamalot, the new tour,
Need to
direct
hear
from
what you thought of
Broadway.
it. I love it. I loved it.
So it's funny because I had never seen Spamalot. I somehow missed that. This, by the way, is not the original Broadway production. This is the revival from 2023, directed by Josh Rhodes. Though it is it stays pretty close to the original staging, from what I understand. There are some updated jokes, jokes about George Santos and Taylor Swift to keep things sort of current. But I was delighted. It is a silly, silly musical, but it is so, so much fun. The thing that I think surprised me the most is how strong the score is. We talk a lot about
Yeah.
musicals on this show. And it's, for our listeners, they probably understand my big complaint, like with something with like The Notebook, the last thing I think I saw. I was just so underwhelmed by the score. It's like, well, this is actually a very beautiful show in the way it's staged, but the music is just, I couldn't hum a note from it. A Kimberly Akimbo, a terrific night of theater, but a very, very forgettable score. The score to Spamalot is actually really memorable. It's actually very, very good to some degree because they lean into the silliness of it, I think.
Yeah.
There's a kind of
Exactly.
bombastic, power ballads. that are very much making fun of Broadway music, but at the same time are actually kind of awesome Broadway music. The score is by John Duperez and Eric Idle, who is from Monty Python, who wrote the
Sure.
book and who co-wrote the original movie, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's a very good translation of that film, to the point where I was wondering, well, how are they going to do some of this? Because the movie just goes. They at a certain point they just kind of give up, and it's just really wacky. Well, the show's kind of the same way, but they stick the landing, which is important, which is cool. They add in some queerness with Sir Lancelot. I don't want to give away too much about that, but
Right.
it's very fun the way it's done. In this production, Chris Collins Pisano, who plays Sir Robin, for me was the standout. He plays multiple roles in the show. Man has pipes for days. A hell of a great
Nice.
singer and a good actor. He was captivating every moment he was on stage for me, which was very very cool. I could talk about the big letdown, which is the Lady of the Lake, Amanda Robles, fine singer, okay actress, but that is a plum role, made famous by
Yeah.
Sarah Ramirez in the original production. Sarah Ramirez, who went on to play possibly the most irritating character one of the most irritating characters on television, Che Diaz in the Sex and the City sequel, and Just Like That. Sarah's extraordinarily talented. That character's extraordinarily annoying and didn't really have a clear function on the show, which had bigger problems, frankly. But this, when it comes to the Lady of the Lake, this is a role that is, you could do so much with it. And I
Yeah.
didn't feel like Amanda Robles was really doing enough. She wasn't, Sarah Ramirez very famously impersonated Jennifer Holliday and Barbara Streisand and Liza Minnelli and these kind of famous divas. There's a little bit of that here, but not a lot. Nevertheless, I say Spamalot is absolutely worth the price of admission. It's a really, really fun night of theater, particularly if you're Monty Python fans. This is the only show I've ever seen, ever, where when the scenery changed, you could tell who was a big fan because they automatically started cheering and laughing. And it's like, I don't know what's happening yet. But fans of the Holy Grail, they definitely do. So they were excited. Oh, my favorite bits are coming up. And they do those bits very, very good justice. The killer bunny, which is a puppet, is very, very funny. Another scene stealer. There's some true fun on that stage.
I am glad you got to see it. I saw it way back in the day in a
Oh
touring
wow.
production was the first place I saw it. And I happened to be in New York City a couple of years ago when Jonathan Bennett did like a stunt
Oh
role
yeah.
in it and kind of took it over for a little bit. And he was fun. He was fine. And it was comic relief and everything. So, yeah, so I've seen it a couple times, but I agree with you 100% on the score. It's just a fun watch. There's some fun shows out there, and it's definitely a fun show. The first touring production, I don't even remember who was in it in the first one, but it was quite a while back in the
Clay
day.
Aiken did it for a while, didn't he? Did he do the tour or did he
He
do
wasn't in my touring production, so I
Okay.
think it was even before that, maybe. But yeah,
Okay.
it's a good show, though. I'm glad you got to see it.
Me too.
I don't have anything else on my plate this week. I mean, there's a bunch of stupid stuff going on in Hollywood that we can talk about another time, but it just not it doesn't float my boat, you know? I don't care about some of these things they talk about.
No, and it's unfortunate. It's good that we have great theater. It's good that people like Artie O'Daly, our friend who we wish was here, because I'm eager to talk about the Bad Boy finale. He's doing interesting work, and he's doing it for no money. He's doing it on the web, and it is so polished. It looks professional. It looks as great as anything that any of the big networks or studios are doing. And he's just going for broke with it. It's interesting to compare that to people who have unlimited financial and creative
Yeah.
resources and cannot make something good or don't care about making something good. It's an interesting state of affairs and kind of a frightening one, if you ask me.
Well said. Well, I appreciate you as always, my friend. You can follow us right here on Let's Go Straight Podcast every Friday. We record this on Wednesdays, show them on Fridays for you on your favorite podcast distributor, including iTunes and Spotify and YouTube and all those fun things. So subscribe to us on one of those if you will. And again, you can watch David on the David Reddish Show and follow him on social. Remind everyone they can find you there, my friend.
You can find the show on YouTube simply by searching The David Reddish Show, and you can find me on Instagram at The Gay Magneto. All one word.
Fantastic. Again, thanks everybody. We appreciate you joining every Friday. Have a great weekend, everyone.